Hey everybody, welcome to MT Guitar. Today we're doing somewhat of a historic song that's been covered by many great bands over the decades. And in that way it kind of tells a story about the history of rock and roll. So this is Not Fade Away by Buddy Holly and the Crickets, 1957 release. Big hit. Buddy Holly was really taking off at this time in the golden age of rock and roll, so to speak, in the late 50s. You had a lot of very important covers. Rolling Stones, this is one of their first hits, as well as I Want to Be Your Man, which the Beatles gave that to them. And so, you know, Buddy Holly and the Beatles kind of got Rolling Stones on the map as far as their first singles. And this song was also famously covered by the Grateful Dead. Truly an incredible version that is well worth your time checking out. And they would play it as a sort of a staple. So it really grew and augmented, so to speak, in terms of its influence and its meaning, etc. So the original is so cool because Buddy is just ripping it up with these rhythm parts. And really what's going on, if you want to trace this back, you know, where was Buddy Holly influenced? Well, on this one, Bo Diddley. I mean, Bo Diddley had such a great beat, often called the Bo Diddley Beat. This song is kind of a variation of the Bo Diddley song, just called Bo Diddley. And this Bo Diddley beat has influences from West Africa, known as the Hambone, etc., where you might slap different parts of your body as you dance around and stuff. Very rhythmic, so you've got a lot of percussion going on in these Bo Diddley beats. And so this beat is very famous in the early R&B and rock and roll days. And so Buddy Holly was a huge student of Bo Diddley, so really interesting there. And Buddy was really good at sort of getting that chunky sound. So let's go ahead and check out my demo of this song, played on an acoustic guitar. After that, we're going to talk about how to get that sound, that really cool chunky sound, on your own guitar as well. I'm gonna tell you how it's gonna be. You're gonna give your love to me. I wanna love you night and day. You know my love will not fade away. My love is bigger than a Cadillac. Try to show it when you're driving back. Your love for me has got to be real. I want to show you just how I feel. Love for real and not fade away. He's on electric, I'm on acoustic, but the same principle applies here. You want to kind of palm mute this and kind of be really close to muting it at times, because if I just let it ring out, it's just not going to sound quite right. You know, I mean, it could work, of course, but to really get that chunk sound, you kind of want to palm mute it and also mute it after you play it with the left hand. So we're going to zoom in later and talk about that. It's a really good technique to be able to have. And then a nice little triad slide down. Now, speaking of triads, right, this guitar solo is just literally triads. Okay, so that's just a to D to A. Clear as day right there. A little call and response, very important in early rock and roll. There's the call, there's the response. So that's an E to A to E. Notice this is like a D up a whole step. Okay, so that's why it's E, A. This is like a, well, it's from the E shape, so I was going to say it's like a G up a whole step, but the same principle applies. It's just a bar chord, whatever you think of as F, G, A, etc. So that's the same thing up here. When we're up here, this is all the way up to A. We know that because we could follow the A to the E shape and eventually to the D shape, if you will, or you can count up a D triad all the way up to A, either way. Then your D's way up here. So we have this really cool guitar solo that I think anyone can play, and you'll learn something about the fretboard in the process. That's it. It's kind of fun to do the chord melody, by the way. Of course, I'm getting out of tune here as I start to play a little more aggressively, but so I'm just, kind of doing some open string and then playing the melody, sort of allowing the open strings to carry me through that. So I'll tab that out as well. This will all be tabbed out on the Patreon. If you want to check out my arrangement, you'll get access to it there. And a bunch of other tabs and resources. Big thank you to the patrons there. And I love this early rock and roll stuff. We can learn so much from it and improve our guitar playing. So go ahead and learn this with me now, and subscribe to the channel. Check out some other videos as well. Hit the thumbs up. Leave a comment if you'd like. All right, let's go ahead and zoom in. All right, so the good thing about a 50s rock song is that a lot of times it's just a handful of chords, and that's no exception. We basically have E, A, and D. So a 3-chord song. Here we go. So really, the like I mentioned in the intro, the real meat and potatoes of this song and the groove of the song is in the right hand. But as soon as I say that, I think about how the left hand is muting. So we have some things to cover beyond the chords. You might think, well, I got this song in the chords. Yeah, but we want to take a nice look into the techniques involved so you can get the right sound, as opposed to, I suppose you could warm up on that if you want. E, A. In fact, it's not a bad idea just to warm up on it, because we're going to need to dive into the technique. But we have E for 2 down strums. Down, up, down, down, so to speak, more or less on an A, and then back to E twice. Obviously, there's a lot going on there that I changed. So, we got the structure of the beginning of this verse, or this intro, I should say, which leads into the verse. And we want to kind of palm mute. So, now if I just palm mute and change nothing else, doesn't really fully take care of this, but let's get a nice starting place here. So palm muting, resting my palm right near the bridge pins, kind of going down, making sure I'm not lifting my hand off the strings. So you're a little restricted there, but it's worth it for the sound. And sometimes I actually do lift, but I just make sure I palm mute by the time I land, just to get a little bit of attack, so you can lift. All right. Now, the next thing is very important. Doesn't get talked about a lot in guitar methodology, because I don't know why. It's just where I think a lot of pros take it for granted, including myself perhaps as well. But you want to get good at muting with the left hand. It's not all about the right hand for muting. So I'm going to mute on both. I'm actually going to mute with the right hand, of course, as well. That's all. That's a given. But it's nice to mute with the left. So I'm going to play down. And even if I don't mute with the right at all, you want to get good at that. I know it seems like perhaps a sort of a silly task, but this movement of stopping the chord, it's like we're stopping the chord, yes. It's the notes we don't play sometimes, right? It makes all the difference. So muting is a big technique that gets overlooked at times. So I'm going to fold my fingers over and just do that each time I strum, Well, I'm going to, now, as soon as I say that, I realize there's a slight mute on the first one. It's really the second one we want to mute. And then the same thing with the A. After the third strum there, I mute. So it's between the chords instead of, see, that separation is important. Gives it a bounce. Sort of a groove. Now, if I add the right hand in, right, that was just left hand by itself. Now I've really got both hands working for me to mute like this. And now it's bouncing. Okay, now it's popping. So good. We've got that up to speed. Well, I mean, let's get it up to speed. We've got the technique down. Let's do a slow and then get it literally up to speed. All right, so nice and slow. Here we go. repeat. One more time. I lied last time. Okay? All right, now, the first time you do it, there's nothing that happens extra. The second time, we add a fill. Okay, ninth fret, 4/3 second strings, E triad. Slide it down. So, you don't have much time to do it, so this is optional, but here it is. See, you have to go right back to that E. And honestly, if that messes you up, it's not worth tanking the whole song just for that. But it's good to be able to do that kind of thing. All right, so you do that the second and third time, fourth time, nothing. So first time, nothing. Second and third time, descending or falling triad. Fourth time, nothing. Now we have the intro, and it's after the fourth time, I'm gonna tell you how it's gonna be. Very rhythmically exciting there, that lyrical phrase. I mean, Buddy Holly just locking into some great syncopation there. Now we have a nice thing. We're going to the 4 chord, and we're doing the exact same rhythm, groove, strumming, and you could say relative progression, meaning 1 to 4. It just happens to be from the 4, but it's just identical. It's really cool. Okay, you're gonna give your love to me back home. I'm gonna love you back to the A. And then I sing, and then back to the E. Then he tags, I'll sing it again, and then still on the E. Okay? Now, boom, the same intro with the ba 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 da. Okay, so that interlude was 4 times after I sang that last phrase. Okay, then I did first time with nothing, second and third time with the bam, and the fourth time nothing in between. Now a second verse. Second verse is identical. Obviously, this is the verse. There is no chorus in this. The chorus, you could say, is the tag of the verse, but really it's just that. Okay, so now we have, it's almost like a 12-bar bluesy kind of thing going to the 4 chord, but there's no turnaround. It's not really a 12-bar blues, but it's got some blues elements with the 4 chord and the 1 chord. Now, after the second verse, okay, then it's the same thing, interlude. First time, nothing. Second time, fill, you get it. Third time, fill. Fourth time, nothing. Now, the guitar solo. This is trickier than it looks. I mean, not to say that it looks easy either, but it's to get that groove with these triads. It's not just like this, right? There's a lot of rock and roll going on here. So we're gonna slide up from a half step below. Okay, it's called an approach note in jazz. And when you're a half step below, you slide right into it. And you're kind of strumming still the same, a little more actively maybe. Okay, so I'm doing down, up, and down, down, up, down, up. So you're sliding, and then going up, down, and then up, slide, down, up. But if you maybe not strum every single one, it's also good. So that's just as long as we get that bow, bow, however you want to do that. Then we go up to a D, again, approach note. So a fret below. Okay, so by the way, it's 9, 10, 9. Now it's slide up to 11, 10, 10. And then you don't hang out there long. So it's, so after you go, we've covered that. Now slide up, down, up, down, up, and then up, mute, down, slide down. Up, mute, down, slide. So then you respond with the chords, and then we repeat. But that's the main thing that we're going to repeat in the E. So let's take our time on that. Nice and slow. Here we go. Let's repeat that. I'm also kind of muting. Okay, so watch. Muting there. So between the bow, bow, it's not. It's play, mute, play, play, mute play, okay? Kind of have to experiment with that. It's kind of hard to say scientifically exactly when you're muting. It's more of a feel and a groove thing, which is very hard to explain in actual things I can tell you objectively, because these things are minuscule milliseconds. Yeah. Okay. And then you do the same thing on E. When I say E, it's a D shape of an E triad, isn't it, right? So it's D up a whole step. That was A, up way up there. Here's E. To A triad, 6-5-5. Then you respond to, again. Again. Then third verse, repeat the song. That's it. So that's it. Then the song just sort of repeats, and then he tags that last last line. Oh, my love, not fade away. Oh, my love, not fade away, right? So that's it. So you got the song. Of course, it's basically, the form is quite simple. We just do that intro, verse, interlude, solo, verse, outro. Or not even outro, just verse, and then tag the ending. So you've got basically, the sections and the solo all laid out there for you. Remember to, listen to the recording. I can't stress that enough. With early rock and roll, it's all about the groove and feel, and this stuff, it gets overlooked. It's the covers are great too. I love the covers. This is the original that inspired the covers. All right, there you go. Final words of wisdom, and take care, everyone. See ya.